Hi there. I just finished the book of Alien Covenant. Um, Unfortunately, I watched the film before I read the book, and I spoiled the film for myself as well. The film, it wasn't amazing. Kind of had a lot of cool ideas, but there was just something missing from the film. But the book is pretty cool. It's written actually, funny enough, it's written by Alan Dean Foster, who also did the Alien 3 novelization, and I believe he did Alien as well, and Aliens. The funny thing is that the Alien 3 novelization is probably one of the first books I actually bought when I was younger, because I was too young to see the film in the cinema. So I actually read the book before I saw the film, and I really enjoyed it. And well, not that I don't enjoy Alien 3 anyway, I'm one of the rare people that does. But the interesting thing with Covenant is there was actually quite a lot of things cut from that film. You can tell just by the editing and just how some things just don't add up, and the pacing of it. It would have been quite a longer film, but I think they were going for more like an action, like Alien type, Aliens kind of film instead of a Prometheus film. This is just a couple of things that were actually cut. So there are some big spoilers and actually some big reversals on big spoilers. So I've just got a list of things here. Okay, well, one of the first things was in the beginning there was a bit of a dream sequence between Daniels and Jacob. Just talking about the log cabin and stuff, and just like, and the whole meaning behind that. It wasn't just like a cheesy let's make a log cabin. It was the whole thing about like that they were going to use like old they actually took with them on the Covenants like old tools from like antique tools and wood and natural materials to make a cabin, like the early settlers in America or something. So it was like a bit more of a drawn out thing, and just explaining that a bit more, the cabin, so you just got a bit more kind of attached to that idea. A bit of a jump is the whole section with the flute and that. A lot of people perceive there was like some implied sexuality with that, but in the book it's not. Like the book kind of gives you an insight to the thought process behind everyone as well. There was just no implied sexuality in that scene. In later things, there was, the kissing and the kind of the rapiness of David with Daniels, but not in that scene at all. There was also actually, yeah, there was a lot more to do with when they intercept the signal. The signal of Elizabeth Shaw, there was actually a longer section of them trying to decipher the signal, like kind of isolating the sound and sharpening up the imaging, and they were using Murder a lot more through it. So actually Murder had a lot more airtime in the book, and you got to kind of know that character of the ship a lot more. And it wasn't just like, and they didn't just come to that conclusion, she's singing Country Road. It was like a lot more of a scientific way that they worked that out. It wasn't just like Tennessee ball in his head to the song or something. So that actually made a lot more sense. Also, when they finally landed and they Walter went first and he sampled the water. He tasted some of the things to do with the atmosphere. He took a large gulp of breath as well. And he processed it all. I mean, people would still have a problem with that. Just the realism of these professionals going on another planet without helmets on, but there was a lot more of a process of Walter going out there and just making sure it was safe for them. I suppose David did a similar thing in Prometheus. They confirmed with him that it was safe and stuff, but still, the alien spores. I think it does actually, it does actually address the fact that he didn't detect the spores. Apparently the black goo, the pathogen, lies completely dormant when it's not active, so it's lifeless until it becomes active, until it's kind of like initiated. That does actually get addressed a bit later on. One of the major things is that David was actually, in the book, David is not the creator of the overmorph eggs. He says that he found them there and they were the engineer's creation, including the facehuggers as well. He's actually got some kind of like a petrified one that he's kind of cut in sections, like in the film there's one on the table. It's actually the engineers created the egg and the facehugger, and therefore the xenomorph. You could say because they obviously, it's implied that they created humanity as well, so they would have obviously messed around with this stuff, and so that's a complete reversal of the big revelation of the film. One of the big surprises was actually when they are escaping with Tennessee. They're being chased by the xenomorph, and the actual one of the neomorphs, the youngest of the neomorphs, because there's two neomorphs in the film, and it reminds you all the way through the book that one of them was younger than the other one and bigger, and the one that I think the youngest of the xenomorphs returns as well, and he's actually has a fight with the xenomorph, so that helps them to escape because they start having a big battle, and the xenomorph actually disembowels the neomorph, so that was really cool. Daniels fights the xenomorph on ground as well, and she gets a bit of an acid spray in the face, but not as much as the security officer guy. And also Walter also has a as we know, it's David. He also has a bit of a fight with the xenomorph as well, and you would never guess that it was David in the book because there's no look back, or there's no the obvious things that were in the film. You would never have guessed it because it's concentrating on the xenomorph and the neomorph fight, and then David's getting involved, or Walter's getting involved in the fight as well. He's a lot more subtle this time, David, and except he starts repeating some of the philosophical thoughts of David, kind of thing, and his accent is ever so slightly changed as well, because Daniel starts to pull him up on stuff, saying, "Oh, David was speaking to me about exactly the same thing, like things to do with love and stuff like that," and he's kind of she doesn't quite get it, but you can tell it's not Walter, because even though Walter is designed not to have much of a personality or be creative, he's definitely quite a strong character in the whole thing. I think he's one of the most likable characters in the film and in the book as well. Also when they get back on the ship as well, it's like a day passes before the final chest burster. And also, the guy who's a security officer, I think, it tells you explicitly that the facehugger did not get anywhere near his mouth. So the facehugger did not plant the egg in him. It was he was on that. They were on the Covenant for about a day, and they all went to sleep. So David must have planted the chest burster in him or something, because he was left alone with this guy for like a day while everyone else had like a bit of a nap, and the two other officers went and did their thing in the shower and stuff like that. There's also a section with Daniels in the cabin as well. She's eating like an omelette and stuff and talking to Tennessee. I'm not sure if that was in the film, but it's a lot more of a drawn out, like it even like in the book, it even tells you that these xenomorphs grow at an alarming rate, but it's still there's a lot more space between it. It's not really an issue when the xenomorphs are born. There's still a very short life cycle, but not as bad as it came across in the film. And there's no final line as well from David where he says, sleep tight, don't let the bugs bite." And also there's no cabin at the end where Daniels says to him about the cabin, and he gets confused, and she realizes, and there's a big like horror moment. There's none of that in the book as well. She goes to sleep feeling perfectly at ease with Walter, who's David. And the funny thing is, there's also no he doesn't vomit up the eggs as well. The eggs are already put in there, implying that while they were all sleeping earlier on, he was going around the ship and preparing this. So the facehugger eggs were already in the drawer. He didn't throw them up as well. So it was pretty cool. I really wish I'd read the book first, because I sort of because even though it was the visuals of the film were really strong, and I really liked the designer stuff, and that it was kind of like it was like it was like having the film playing slow motion kind of thing, but you could sort of study all the thoughts and just the thoughts and stuff like that. People, it was really cool. So in the future, when the next film comes out, I'm going to read the book first. A long time before I see the film. That was what I planned for this, but I just spoiled it for myself. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed going through these spoilers.